Hey guys, my name is Dawson, and today my topic is on North Korea and the lessons we can learn from it. So, we'll begin it off. So, let's go towards the history first. Let's see what has happened. So, this is the map of North Korea. So, North Korea, which is officially called as the People's Republic of Korea, is a country in the East Asia constituting the northern part of the Korean peninsula. It borders China and Russia to the north, and at the Yalu and Tumen rivers, it borders the South Korea to the south at the Korean demilitarized zone. So, I'll just point it out. Here you can see at the north there is China, there is Russia, to the south you can see Japan, and this is the Korean Strait, this is the Sea of Japan, this is the Yellow Sea, this is the Korean Bay, and this line which divides North Korea and South Korea, this is called as the DMZ, that is the demilitarized zone. So this is one of the most heavily guarded places on the earth. So with that knowledge, let's move on. So about the history of North Korea. So in 1910, Korea was annexed by the Imperial Japan. So in that time there was nothing like North Korea, South Korea. It was just Korea. So they were like colonized, not exactly colonized, but they were annexed by Imperial Japan. So in 1945, after the Japanese surrendered in the end of World War II, Korea was divided into two zones along with the 30th parallel, with North occupied by the Soviet Union. Soviet Union, you know, it's the Soviet Union of Russia, and the south was occupied by the United States. Negotiations on reunification failed, so they tried to unite, but it failed. And in 1948, the separate governments were formed. The socialist DPRK, that is a Democratic People's Republic of Korea in the north, and the capitalist First Republic of Korea in the south. So the formation of the DPRK came from a number of provisions of the government. So this and all I will not move, but last point let me highlight, that is the Korean armistice agreement brought about a ceasefire and established the demilitarized zone DMZ, but no formal peace treaty was signed. So till this date the DMZ is there, and sometimes there will be wars on the DMZ, that is you'll see bullet firing and all those stuff, but there is no formal peace treaty yet signed. But still there is some level of peace in North and South Korea. So regarding human rights, you might be knowing this, I'll be just moving on. That is, the North Korea is widely accused of having perhaps the worst human rights in the record in the world. A 2014 UN, that is the United Nations inquiry into the human rights in the North Korea, concluded that the gravity, the scale, and the nature of these violations reveal a state that does not have any parallel in the contemporary world. North Koreans have been referred to as some of the world's most brutalized people by the Human Rights Watch because of the severe restrictions placed on their political and economic freedoms. So the North Korea population is strictly managed by the state, and all the aspects of the daily life are subordinated to the party and the state planning. Employment is managed by the party on the basis of political reliability, and the travel tightly controlled by the Ministry of People's Security. So you can see there is a lot of violations of the human rights, and even the UN is also concerned, and many nations are concerned of the problem of North Korea. As per you know, there is nothing like a democracy in North Korea. It is a dictatorship. It was formed by Kim Jong-un, the current leader's grandfather. I think his name was Kim Il-sung. Then Kim Jong-il was his son, that is his grandfather's son, so his dad. And now currently ruling is Kim Jong-un. So next, so we'll know some of the rules in North Korea. If you are living in North Korea, these will be the rules which you need to follow. So there are only 3 channels on the TV, and you have to watch only those. So mainly those 3 channels are purely political. There will be a lot of propaganda, and you need to listen to those. There is no freedom at all to watch anything. So the 3 generation of punishment rule will give you a nightmare. So in North Korea they follow a 3 generation of punishment rule. That is, if you violate a rule, not only your 3 line of generations will be punished. That is your dad and your grandfather, and even your grandson. I heard somewhere, even your sons also, they will be also punished. So the 3 generation rule is there. That's quite a nightmare, to be honest. All the men and women should only cut their hair according to the 28 government approved hairstyles. So there are government approved hairstyles in North Korea, so you can't take any of your like spikes and all those stuff. It's completely illegal in North Korea. But the most bizarre fact is that the Kim Jong-un's hairstyle is none of these 28 government approved hairstyles. So that's weird stuff. So next, the country has its own basketball North Korea rules. So it has its own rules. That's not nothing big. So you need an approval from the government to live in the capital. So Pyongyang is the capital of North Korea, and if you want to live there, you can't just go and live there. You need to have some. You need to get the permission, and as well as you need to have something unique quality within you. Like you need to serve in the military, or you need to have some high status to live there. So you can't imagine this in India. In India, anybody can travel freely. So sorry, parents who send their kids to school are expected to provide desks, chairs, buildings, materials. So all this stuff are there. Literally, it's a nightmare for parents also to send their kids to school. And owning a Bible is illegal in North Korean laws. Not only Bible, guys. Bible, since it's referring mostly due to the person who wrote this might be a Christian, so he might have said not only Bible, any form of religious textbook or religious books. I won't name this. I don't want to hurt anyone's feeling, but any books, even the Bible, is banned in North Korea. In North Korea, they consider their leaders as the supreme god. So that's the thing. Next is Apple Inc. and Sony. Apple Incorporation is the same Apple which we use products. Apple, Sony, and Microsoft are not allowed to distribute their products to the North Korean restrictions. So the so the North Korea looks US as its enemy. So they are having a long enmity. So they don't allow any US products to come to North Korea. So that is the thing. So even you cannot smuggle Western literatures about North Korea. So you can't even smuggle, like bring even the Western literature, that is all the US books and all movies all to North Korea. I still remember one person was killed, I think, was executed for doing that. Even you can't place even international calls also. So you can't even leave the country. That's the biggest thing. If you are born in North Korea, you will die in North Korea. That's it. So now why my reason to share this stuff with you was I wanted to tell you the lessons we can learn from the dictatorship of North Korea. First of all, never take your freedom for granted. We see people taking freedom for granted. Like if any new law comes which is hampering the freedom of speech or anything, our people will tell you what will happen in that. No, your freedom of speech is quite important. You need to enjoy the freedom, as well as you should not take it for granted. Like just because I'm having freedom of speech doesn't mean I can do whatever I want. Not like that. You need to use it in a respectable manner. Secondly, try to help people around you who are facing social issues. So the problem in North Korea is people are facing so many issues, and some people try to escape from North Korea, and when they reach to other countries, they are being looked at. They are facing a lot of racism and all other social and issues. So that's the huge issue. So whenever you see an immigrant, don't make fun of them or don't call them by weird names. Try to help them also. So third one is racism, which is indeed prevalent today. We must unite to fight against racism. So if you see the North Koreans in South Korea who have been defected, they are usually facing racism from South Korean people. So that is also a big issue. Not only there, in anywhere in the world, even in US there was a lot of racism towards the Asian people and all those stuff. So racism is still prevalent today, but we must fight against racism. Fourthly, never bow down or accept defeat from someone. Sorry, I think that word is missing. Yeah, so never accept defeat or anything from others. Don't think yourself as just a normal citizen. If anything goes wrong, you must raise your voice. Fifthly is always vote and never think that your vote won't count. So many people do this in India. That is, when they go for the elections, they'll tell what is the essence of my vote. My only one vote won't change anything. Because of this mentality, many people don't vote, and as a result, many bad leaders or bad politicians come into power. So my request is always don't vote any guy based on his background or anything. Vote as per what do you think. Like tomorrow, if you are having any MLA like elections, always choose an MLA who will help you, who will help you to repair the roads in case if it goes wrong or that. Don't just look behind his party or his personal interest. So that's the thing which I wanted to tell. So that's the same point. Never judge or vote a leader by its religion, party, or any personal interest. So that is the thing which you should never do. Personally, to say, I'll take my example at least. When you people didn't have a chance to vote, but you people had the chance to nominate. but you people never believed in those things. You people had already stood by me, and you people knew me. So as per even today also, whenever we had faced a issue, I had dealt it with courage, and I had spoken. So you need to vote, not like me, I'm not bragging myself, but I'm just giving an example, so that tomorrow you people might see a person like me, or person like anybody, a good leader. So always vote them and support them, so that they can change our system and bring a huge revolution the way people live. So seventh is always vote for a leader who will stand by the interest of the people and the nation. I'm not talking about only anywhere. Even tomorrow morning you might be in any nation, any part of the globe, but always choose a good leader. So here are some of the good leaders in my opinion. I'll be just going through. These are just my personal opinion. Okay. So I think most of you might know who is this. Some of you might not know. He is Sir Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He was a former prime minister, and to be honest, I think he was one of the best prime ministers of India. To be honest, he was the first non-Congress prime minister. Under his leadership, we had several good innovative schemes. Like there was Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which was a movement towards education. We had the Golden Quadrilateral project for constructing highways and all those stuff. And even this one word which he said in the parliament, that is सत्ता का खेल चलता रहेगा, पार्टियां आएंगी जाएंगी, पर ये देश चलना चाहिए, इस देश का लोकतंत्र रहना चाहिए, which means parties will come and go, but this nation must move on. The nation's interest must move on. So that's a quite revolutionary speech which he had given. Secondly is Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He was the president at the same time when Atal Bihari Sir was the prime minister. Under his leadership also, India had faced a lot of problems, but at the same time he was very quite innovative. In, for example, the Pokhran mission, you might be knowing, the nuclear mission. Due to that, today India is having such good nuclear weapons. Even his love towards children and the way he teach made him a really successful president. In my opinion, he's one of the best presidents. And I think the era which was ruled by, not ruled, for which was led by Sir Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Abdul Kalam as the president, was one of the best eras in the Indian history. I think most of you will agree with me. Next is Manmohan Singh, that is our former. I don't tell he was a good prime minister. He was a good prime minister, but more than that, I think he was a good finance minister. Since when India was facing through the economic crisis, he handled it a lot better. And even in his time, the GDP of a nation was going in a very good pace compared to today. Next is the current Chief Minister of Delhi, Sri Arvind Kejriwal. So the reason why I chose this leader is because the way he brought in the reforms in Delhi. If you see today, the electricity bill is reduced, the water is reduced, and there was a rule of two parties before, but this person made his own independent party and the people believed in him. So that is the reason even in his second term, he was easily able to win by a landslide victory. So these were the leaders of leaders in India. I'll be talking about now foreign leaders also. So most of you might know who is this. He was George Washington, the first US president. So the reason why I chose him was he was quite intelligent. He was the first person who thought that after completing second terms I can't continue. He had the wisdom to think that others also should get chance. So due to him, like today we are having a rule in the US that no US president can take more than 2 terms simultaneously. So that is the reason why I chose him. Secondly is Sir Nelson Mandela. He was from South Africa. He was the Prime Minister or the President of the South Africa. The reason is he eradicated racism, and he himself is a great example for the people of South Africa. Next is Sir Barack Obama. He was the former US president, and the reason why I chose him was he was the first African American president, and under his leadership we had a lot of revolution in the United States. I won't be going through all those stuff. Lastly is Miss Jacinda Ardern. She is the current Prime Minister of New Zealand. The reason why I chose her was the way she handled the press. Even the coronavirus crisis was indeed a great, significant achievement, and being a woman herself, I can assure you that she is one of the best prime ministers in the world. the way she handled the media when New Zealand had faced like 2 or 3 cases of coronavirus. I still remember like other media persons were making fun of her, but she stood by the people of New Zealand, and today New Zealand is free from any cases of COVID-19. So this is one quote which I like to tell before ending my presentation. That is by Martin Luther King. That is, freedom only comes through persistent revolt, through persistent agitation, through persistently rising up against the system of evil. So today, in today's world, there might be quite evil stuff going on. I won't name this few. I don't want to target or point out at anyone, but I'll tell you, freedom will come only within you. If all people unite and fight together, this world can be changed. The most beautiful part of the democracy is people are having the right to vote. If all people vote for the right person, no matter what happen, that person will indeed change the politics of the nation. So with this, I would like to end my presentation, and one more small disclaimer: this presentation which I made is only for educational purposes. I do not support or hate any political parties. I personally do never support a political party. I support only a leader based on his personality and ethics. Thank you.